So you've been meaning to read more, right? Maybe you're looking at your bookshelf or scrolling through your wish list and wondering, how am I ever going to get through all these? That, my friends, is where a TBR list comes in handy. Today we'll look about how creating a TBR list can help you focus on your reading goals, or just help you decide what to read next. Think of this as a guide, not a rule book. I'll share some ideas and you can make your own. So let's start with the basics. TBR stands for to be read. Basically a list of books you want to read. It's like creating a music playlist, but for books. Whether it's a mental list, a quick note on your phone, or an actual stack of books giving you the side eye from your shelf, a TBR helps you keep track of the books you want to read or you own. For some people, a TBR list is an actual list like a page in a notebook. Others might prefer a digital TBR like on Goodreads or the Storygraph. And then there are the stackers, the people who liked a physical reminder with books neatly piled on a shelf waiting for their turn to be read. Or you might like a mix of all three of these. I personally keep a mix of digital and physical TBRs. I've got my shelves at home and a bigger digital list on Goodreads and a matching one on the Storygraph. I also have a spreadsheet for series books I've not finished yet. When I'm ready to start something new, I can just check my shelf or scroll through one of those websites for whatever fits my mood. The beauty of a TBR is that it's totally flexible. There's no one way to do it. Whether it's a list, an app, or a stack, your TBR is all about gathering the books that make you want to read. There are many ways to build a TBR, but what's the benefit? Why go through so much effort of setting up a TBR list in the first place? Let's talk about how having a TBR can make your reading life more enjoyable and a whole lot more organized, especially if you're looking to make reading more of a priority in your life. Whether you're a mood reader or someone who loves a bit of structure, a TBR can work for you. Think of your TBR list as a kind of reading roadmap. No more standing in front of your bookshelf frozen with too many options, wondering, what do I even feel like reading today? With a TBR list, you've already gathered the books that genuinely interest you. So when it's time to pick up your next book, you've got a lineup ready and waiting, making the whole process way less overwhelming. If you're a mood reader, your TBR doesn't have to feel restrictive. It's more like having a collection of pre-approved options for whatever mood you're in when you're trying to pick your next book. Some days you might want a fast-paced thriller, other days a cozy romance. Your TBR can have a little of everything, so there's always something to fit. And if you're someone who likes having a plan, your TBR can give you a clear reading path. It can even help you prioritize it with top picks or monthly goals. It's a great way to keep track of books without needing to decide on the spot. I used to spend so much time just deciding what I wanted to read next, but now if I'm feeling indecisive, I just check my TBR and pick something I already know I want to read. Now let's be honest, sometimes life gets busy and that reading spark dims a little. The TBR list can help reignite that spark because it's full of books you're genuinely excited about reading. Knowing you've got a list of amazing stories waiting for you can make picking up a book feel like a treat, not a chore. And let's not forget the satisfaction of marking a book as read. Every check mark, every completed title is a little win that builds momentum and keeps you excited to read. Sometimes I add books that just sound fun, like an easy weekend read or something lighthearted, so that when I'm in a slump, it helps me to have those low pressure options lined up, ready to pick up and enjoy. TBRs come in all shapes and sizes. There's no right way to keep a TBR. So here are a few options to get you started. If you're someone who loves the visual appeal of books, a physical TBR stack might be perfect. There's something satisfying about seeing those titles lined up, ready to be read. You can add to the pile as new books catch your interest or watch it shrink as you work your way through it. Or realistically grow, as we know it probably will. You can set up your TBR stack on a dedicated shelf, nightstand, or even a small corner of your room. A lot of people on Bookstagram and TikTok often set up a TBR cart to keep their books separate and easy to find. If you're a mood reader, you might want to arrange your TBR by genre or mood, like a stack of thrillers, cozy reads, or fantasy favorites. That way, whatever vibe you're in, there's a book waiting for you. For those who love the ease of technology, digital TBR lists are fantastic. Platforms like Goodreads and the Storygraph make it super easy to add books, sort them by genre on rating, and track your progress over time. Digital lists also allow you to add notes about why you chose that book, who recommended it, or what excites you about it. Plus, they're super portable, so you can check your TBR anywhere, anytime. While I do have TBR books at home, my TBR method of choice is digital. I use both Goodreads and the Storygraph currently to add, track, and organize all the books I want to read. For anybody who loves a creative outlet, a bullet journal or a creative notebook is a fun and personalized way to keep a TBR. You can dedicate a page or even a whole section of your journal to your reading life. Add checkboxes, doodles, quotes from books you're excited to read, or even color code your list by genre. Bullet journaling lets you build a TBR that's as unique as you are. Mood readers can try setting up themed TBR pages in your journal like winter reads, feel-good books, or fantasy escapes. This gives you a little bit extra inspiration and you can switch it up as often as you like. If you're someone who likes a little bit of everything, why not mix and match? Use a digital platform for your main TBR list and keep a physical stack for books you want to read this month. Do you have a favorite TBR method? Drop your style in the comments and let's see which one is the most popular. Now that we know the different types of TBRs, let's look how to actually start building one. There's no right or wrong way to do this. It's all about creating a list that still feels fun, inspiring, and totally personal to you. Here are some ideas to get you going. A great way to start a TBR is by adding books you're genuinely curious about. These could be recommendations from friends, books that keep popping up on your social media feeds, or titles from authors or genres you genuinely already love. These are the books that should form the foundation of your TBR, keeping it exciting and tailored to you. If you'd like a little bit more planning, add sublists to your TBR for different genres, themes, or even monthly goals. That way you're adding structure but still leaving room for variety. If you're using digital platforms, this kind of organization is easy with tags and lists. When I first made my TBR, I started by asking friends for their favorites. Then I added some of my personal picks and popular books I'd heard about. It made for a great mix, and now I'm constantly adding whenever I see something that sparks my interest or that I think looks really cool. One of the most common TBR traps is feeling like you have to add all the books right away. Trust me, you don't need to add 50 books to your TBR from the start. Start with a handful of books that you're really excited about, like 5 or 10. You can always add more later. It's so easy to get carried away when adding books to your TBR, especially if you're passionate about reading or constantly discovering new recommendations. But loading up your list with every book you find interesting can quickly turn your TBR into an intimidating mountain that feels impossible to conquer. With all the book recommendations on social media, it's tempting to add popular or must-read books to your TBR, just because everybody else is. But here's the thing, your TBR should reflect your interests, not what's trending. I used to add every trending book to my TBR because I didn't want to miss out, but I quickly realized that I wasn't exactly excited about most of them. Now I choose only what truly interests me, even if it's not the latest hit. Let's be real, it's easy to feel a little guilty about books that have been on your TBR for ages or for not reading as many books as you hoped. But your TBR isn't a homework assignment, it's a collection of options. So if you don't get to everything or certain books sit on your TBR longer than expected, that's totally okay. There's no deadline for your TBR, so let's take the pressure off so we can get through some of the things on our list. Mood readers, it's natural for your interests to change, so let your TBR adapt with you. If a book has been sitting there for too long, don't feel guilty about swapping it out or saving it for another time when the mood isn't right. If you're someone who likes ticking off boxes, it can feel frustrating to leave books unread, speaking from experience. But remember that reading is supposed to be enjoyable, so consider setting up a long-term section on your TBR for books you'll get to eventually, without the pressure to finish them right away. So that's your intro to TBRs, a flexible, personalized way to keep track of books you're excited to read. Remember that your TBR is just for you, so build it in a way that feels good. I'd love to hear what's on your TBR or see your list if you're sharing it online. And if you're new to TBRs, let me know if you're going to give it a try. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time for another video.